Behind this entrance is a small garden that's full of fun and functionality. I'm Chloe from Been There Dug That. Let's go behind the garden gate. And stepping away from the chaos of suburbia is as simple as closing this gate. This garden, the owner tells me, is his place for respite and restoration. We're in Eltham, a leafy outer northeastern suburb of Melbourne, and the owner, designer and creator of this garden is Stephen Wells. Behind you is Stephen's front door, so this is the entrance to his garden and also his home. He's chosen plants in here that are lush and evergreen because they look good year round and they provide that screening, protection and that closeted feeling that he needs as he steps into this private oasis. This front garden gives us a glimpse of Stephen's creativity and his passion for plants, but there is plenty more to explore. Come on. This garden really is all about the journey and the reveal of what is beyond. And everywhere you go, there is little things to look at and explore. I have been to this garden many times, but every time I come, I spot something new, unusual, or something I've never even seen before. For a small garden, it was really important for Stephen to have lots of places to sit and relax. He was really adamant that the garden was all about calmness and restoration. I also really love this boardwalk beneath us here. These are cypress sleepers sitting on a treated pine base, and they really encourage us to come on down and explore further. You'll notice throughout the garden that the surface beneath our feet changes a few times, and that's a great way of just keeping things interesting, particularly in a small space. Now, behind you, I can spot the very first big green wall in the garden. So let's look at that further. Before we move on and explore, we have to make mention of this really lush green wall. And this is not the last green wall we are going to see. This one Stephen has built here deliberately because it's the view from his kitchen window. And he wanted the plants to be framed almost like a picture of greenness. These plants are actually just growing in plastic pots that he's built into the wall. And as you can see, they're thriving. This side corridor is the only way that Stephen can access his backyard, so it needed to be wide enough that it would allow him to carry materials. But of course it doesn't need to be bland, and as you can see, Stephen has used every possible space. Outdoor tub on one side and a really clever use of a timber framing that almost creates a bookshelf appearance, and this you will see repeated throughout other parts of the garden. It's a great way of storing your collections and to add a little bit of personality. And how's this? You'd think it's a window into an even bigger garden beyond, but it's not. It's actually a mirror. The French call this trompe d'œil, or the trick of the eye, and using a mirror in a small space like this helps to reflect the garden and make it feel even bigger. Even a space that's only 10 centimetres wide here can, with a bit of creativity, be turned into something that's both fun and functional. This is a bug hotel. And I can see it's very popular. Welcome to the Red Pod. Stephen has hand-built this space to create both a seating area and a privacy screen. And the green wall is covered in plants. We've got bromeliads, spider plants, agaves and more. And the thing I love about the seating options in this garden is at this time of the day I can choose here and bask in glorious full sun. But if I want some dappled shade, well, I only need to head a few meters that way. This timber wall is a new addition since last time I visited, and Stephen's put it here for a couple of reasons. Most importantly is privacy. Behind me is a 2-story development, which if people stood in that top floor, they could overlook into his garden. So this strategically positioned wall is going to provide him the privacy he needs when this development is inhabited. The other great thing about these vertical walls is more space for plants. And you can see here that Stephen's used old fryer baskets. They're rusted and gnarly and they add some great age and texture to the space. He's not planted directly into them, he's just popped the plants in, and he tells me that this space is going to be a little bit of a trial and error. He's not used some of these plants in the garden before or in these vertical spaces. So he can have a bit of a play and see what works. From here, the garden dramatically slopes down. Now, if you were here back in 2005 when Stephen bought the place, and before he'd done any gardening, you would not recognise the view over here. It was a dust bowl. The only plants in this space were the 2 big gums that surround us now. Stephen's really embraced this level change in his garden, and it's something I encourage anyone to do if you have a sloping spot in your garden. This area creates a space that feels even more cosseted and enveloped. It's almost got a rainforest vibe to it, and it feels really lush down here. And here's another garden room. This one is a shady spot with the clivias surrounding it. And to create that sense of a completely different room, we've got the change in surface and the bamboo screening. The pops of yellow help as well. Those steppers lead us onto another deck, and here it's dappled shade and so much cooler than the sunnier spots of the garden, so it's the perfect spot to sit on a hot summer's day. But if we were here in winter time, instead of a table, there would be a roaring fire pit in here. I think the thing I love most about this space in the garden is that it feels so private. You can't even see the house or the other parts of the garden from here. So it's like we're in a completely different world and we've been transported to a completely different garden. Speaking of transportation, how's this for a fun way to get to the bottom of the garden? All right, that was fun. But now let's go and check out the outdoor dining space, which is right outside the back door. How's this for an outdoor entertaining space? The back door's right there, so it's easy access if you need to come out with a platter or to sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee. I also love the addition of these 2 huge maples in big pots. These weren't here last time I was here, and I'm loving the fact that they add structure and height to the space as well. And their vertical canopy that comes over the table gives us some much needed shade as well. You'll notice also that the crushed rock underfoot helps to define this as a different zone in the garden. There's a subtle use of plant repetition in this garden, which helps the different spaces and areas feel cohesive and connected with each other. But there's also repetition in the number of pots used. There really is only 3 different styles of pots he uses. There's the upcycled and the quirky, there's the big, chunky, heavy pots, and then there is a really eclectic mix of terracotta pots, and they stand out really nicely with their orange pop of colour against the dark treacle paint in the background. Now, every gardener needs that space where you store away the things you don't need. You know, the fire pit and the extra chairs or umbrella that you might need. And I reckon that this has got to be the fanciest garden shed door in the whole of Australia. Flowers are definitely not a huge feature in this garden. Instead, Stephen is using foliage and form to create interest. I mean, just look at that euphorbia. I've watched this garden grow and evolve over the last 8 years, and Stephen has really taught me the power of DIY and what any plant lover can achieve. As I leave now, I'm making a mental note to create some more comfy spots to sit in my garden, and I'm leaving thoroughly inspired. I hope you've enjoyed this garden tour of Stephen Wells' place. Please let me know in the comments below what is your favourite part of his garden. Also, please make sure you like and subscribe because I have plenty more garden tours coming your way. See you next time.